What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I gotta give it to Shannon Sharpe and Nick Wright and these guys, man. They are sticking with LeBron James to the very end. They just going down with the ship, and so I gotta commend them for that, right? And so even with what the LeBron James is going to, I can see the narrative kind of shifting to first LeBron James. They was trying to make it seem like LeBron James had all the leverage and things was going LeBron James' way. And then now that things are swinging and going the opposite way, they're trying to make it seem like this is all because of the LeBron James haters. And to me, it's not about people, like hating on LeBron James. It's about it's about being honest and having credibility, right? And so Shannon Sharpe on his show made a statement. He was trying to say that LeBron James, the expectation for LeBron James was different from the expectations of Michael Jordan, right? And that was unfair in his opinion. But LeBron James is the one who put himself right in the middle of that GOAT conversation. And then so when by LeBron James putting himself in that GOAT conversation, when people push, you should expect people to push back, especially Mike fans, Kobe fans. You might have Bird fans who Magic Johnson fans, a lot of great basketball players that came through the league. And none of those guys, that I can recall threw themselves in that GOAT conversation. As a matter of fact, all of those guys just had so much respect for each other and respect for the game that they really shied away from that. But LeBron James is the only player that I know of who took that, who took that approach and wanted to claim that, wanted to be the best, right? And now, he's just under the microscope. Everything he say, everything he do, if you're affiliated with him, everything you say, everything you do is under the microscope. And rightly so, because people don't want LeBron James to be able to just control the narrative and just lie, put a whole bunch of untruths out there. So they push him back, right? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the statement from Shannon Sharpe's show, and I'm gonna point out some inconsistencies and like how Shannon Sharpe tries to shape the argument. But thankfully, Chad Johnson was on here, and Chad was giving some pushback and telling why, LeBron James is under such scrutiny. So let me find this the audio from Shannon Sharpe show.
Yeah, but that's Uncle Joe. That's what comes with still playing. When you're still playing,
no, that becomes
there's it. There you go.
Oh, but that too.
Shaq didn't have that pressure. Shaq played 19 years. Kobe didn't have that. Kobe played 20 years. Did Kobe have that expectations in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16? Did Karl Malone have that? When Jordan went to Washington, was the expectation was a championship? So what you mean? What you mean, Ocho? I mean, rephrase that. Come on back. Because he's still playing. Because I know guys that still play late in their career and didn't have those expectations. So you want to rewind that?
No. Who played all the way to 41, 42?
There are a lot of guys that played late in their career. I'm saying,
no, let's just, 41 to
Jordan?
42.
When Jordan went to Washington, was a championship the expectation?
No.
All right. But that's not the argument, right? Because, like I said, LeBron James put himself in that GOAT conversation. So if you're saying that you're the greatest basketball player of all time, then you should be able to do better, accomplish more and do better than what Shaq did. Do better and what Mike did, what Kobe did. So the expectations for LeBron James should be higher if you're in that conversation because you have something to prove, right? You say, all right, I'm the GOAT. This championship, this season right here, this is what made me the GOAT. All right, people push back. So when people push back, now you have something to prove. I mean, we've seen it with Kobe. Kobe had to prove that he could win championships without Shaq. And he did it. He won 2 championships without Shaq. Mike had to prove that, he could win championships, that he was more than just a scorer. And he did it. Mike won 6 championships. So when it's time for LeBron James to show and prove Now you want to make excuses and you want to cry about what the expectations are. Where LeBron James wanted to be like, all right, if I say I'm the GOAT, then y'all should just go with that. Just don't, you know what I mean? Whatever I say, y'all should just go with it. I'm the GOAT, you know, and we go with that. But people want to push back. People want to be proven wrong. And LeBron James didn't do that. He said, I'm the GOAT because I say I'm the GOAT. And that's the same thing with Shannon Sharpe. You know, he's like, well, LeBron James is the GOAT, but he can't give any proof. You know, he always want to bring somebody else into the argument. Whereas anytime you talk about Mike, you talk about Kobe, you just judge them by what they did on the court. You don't have to compare Kobe to anybody else. You just say, well, Kobe won 5 championships. You know, Kobe won 3 without Shaq. Kobe won 2 without Shaq. They three-peated. Kobe and Shaq three-peated. You know, you don't have to say, well, you don't have to include somebody else's expectations in there, because as a man, you judged on your own, what you do, what you capable of. That's, you know what I mean? So that's how I know that, you know, like Shannon Sharpe is just making a whole bunch of excuses for LeBron James. When Mike went to DC, you know, and DC wasn't a good team. Nobody, you know, people didn't think that Mike was going to take them to, you know, win a championship with the Washington Wizards when Michael Jordan went there. But what people did appreciate about Michael Jordan, as Michael Jordan ain't missed no games. This late in his career, like he played every game. Late in his career, after his games, you know, he having his knee drained. You know, he basically at that time was playing bone on bone. Wasn't no. This last season, LeBron James like missed like what, the first 6 weeks of the season or something like that. Came back against Utah. That wasn't the case with Mike. You know, Kobe played until his body gave out on it. They had to drag Kobe out on a stretcher. You know, and so even though going like in the twilight of these guys' career, when you think about Mike, Kobe, Bird, even Magic, man, the fans just really appreciate just like what they was able to give. If they wasn't like when Bird, he had a bad back and his Achilles was, you know, he had an Achilles injury that really ended his career. But man, anytime you could get Bird on the court for a couple minutes, for a few minutes, and have him shoot, man, that was because people remember and appreciate, and they rode that ride with Bird the whole way. And so when he was able to play, people appreciated that. They weren't like, oh, Bird is in his 13th, his 13th in his final year. He can't even get us a championship. It was about nostalgia and appreciation, man. Fans just appreciate like what Bird meant to their organization, right? Whereas though LeBron James never created that with the fans. He never created that with the organization, whereas though, you know, an organization could prop him up and say, man, you gave us everything you had, night in and night out. You know, Kobe Bryant. You know, when Kobe Bryant left the court, what Kobe Bryant said, man, they said, you know, do you have any regrets? He was like, nah. He said, I left everything I had out there on the court. And it wasn't an exaggeration. It was not a lie. You know, like, that's why that Black Mamba, you know, like what they say about Kobe, man, them people they lose their mind over that, because Kobe actually played like that. He was like that. And that resonate with fans, like basketball fans, or even people who are just novice fans, right? When they see you that dedicated to whatever you do, you can be an accountant or you can be a basketball player, man. When people see you with that type of dedication, they just have a different type. They have so much respect for you, you know, because people recognize that it's not easy to reach that level of success, you know, in whatever profession you are. And so, but LeBron James never did that. You know, he tried to fake it. Sometimes, you know, he'd get hurt and he was dramatic about it and just lay there like somebody just tried to take his head off or something like that. But, you know, it was just all the dramatics. And he just tried to cheat his way to that. And so Shannon Sharpe is just making a whole bunch of excuses when what really matters here for LeBron James, and I'm going to make videos about this, is like the court of public opinion. That's where LeBron James, in my opinion, that's where he dropped the ball, with the court of public opinion. Like Mike, Kobe, Bird, Magic, all those guys will always be loved by the public. But LeBron James is more of he's more polarizing, right? You have some fans who really love LeBron James, but it's not like to the level of what like Kobe is or Bird. Like Boston Celtics fans lose their mind over Bird. Cleveland fans, they appreciate the fact that LeBron James gave them a ring. Miami fans, really indifferent to LeBron James. Lakers fans do not, because they don't really dig LeBron James. So LeBron James don't have that fan base like Bird, Magic, Mike, Kobe. Not even like Isaiah. He don't have that type of fan base that those guys got. So all these excuses that Shannon Sharpe is making, all the excuses that Nick is making, like making LeBron James out to be a victim, is not really. It's doing LeBron James a disservice. And so, I just think that, like I said, LeBron James dropped the ball when it came to the court of public opinion, because those are the people like Mike is still selling right now. Like his merch, his shoes, his merch is still selling. Magic is still marketable to the public because Magic never he cultivated his fan base. Kobe, if he was still alive, man, that fan base, he could still always tap into that fan base. Whereas LeBron James, man, it's just not so much. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I will check you all out in the next video. Peace.